Today we're on page 79 in our notebook, so if you go ahead and pause your video so that you can set up your notebook so it looks just like mine. This is your warm-up. It says which inequalities have x is greater than 4 as a solution. So you have four of them, to choose from. And so you want to tell me which one is greater than 4. So go ahead and pause your video so that you can do your warm-up and I'll come around to check it. Alright, let's actually go over this warm-up because these are the ones that a lot of us miss, and so I want to make sure that we are all aware of how to do these. So which inequalities have x is greater than 4 as a solution? So what I have to do is I have to solve each one of these and see which one has x is greater than 4 as a solution. So I have negative 6x is greater than negative 24. Well, in order for me to solve this, I have to divide by negative 6 on both sides. And I'm left with x is greater than negative 24 divided by negative 6. Well, I know 24 divided by 6 is 4, and I use my triangle to see if it should be positive or negative. So I have two negatives, so that makes my answer a positive 4. Okay, so I know that inequality 1 does match x is greater than 4 because I get the same thing. So let's do inequality 2. X minus 7 is less than 14. Well, in order for me to do this, I have to draw a line through my inequality sign and do the opposite of minus 7, which is to add 7. These cancel. I'm left with x is less than 14 plus 7, which is 21. Well, x is less than 21 does not match x is greater than 4, so I know that inequality 2 cannot be my answer. So let's look at inequality 3. I have 8x is less than negative 72. So again, I draw that line through the equal sign. I divide by 8 because 8 times x I have to do the opposite of. So I'm left with x is less than negative 72 divided by 8, which is 9, and then I use that triangle to see if my answer should be positive or negative. I have a negative and I'm dividing that by a positive, so my answer should be negative. X is less than negative 9 does not match x is greater than 4. So I know that inequality 3 is not true. So then I have the very last one, which is x minus 1 is greater than 3. Draw a line through the inequality sign. The opposite of minus 1 is to add 1. These cancel. I'm left with x is greater than 3 plus 1, which is 4. And that matches as well. So the two of them that match are inequality 1 and inequality 4. So I know A cannot be it because all of them don't match. 1 and 4, it could be that one. 2, nope, 2 didn't match. And 1, but 2 didn't match. So I know that B is the correct answer. So make sure that you have written this in your notes. You will have a problem like this on your test, so make sure that if you have questions, you want to raise your hand and ask them. Your learning goal says determine which equation is correct given a solution. And your language goal says explain to a partner the steps in which you would take to determine which equation is correct given a solution. Your example, it says for which equations is x equals negative 7 true? Write true or false in the blanks. So I want to first highlight x equals negative 7, and then I also want to underline the word true. Okay, so all I have to do in these situations is instead of putting my x here, I'm going to put my negative 7. So let's try A. It says x over 2 plus 3 is equal to negative 0.5. So like I said, instead of putting the x, I'm going to put the negative 7. So I have negative 7 over 2 plus 3 is equal to negative 0.5. Well, if I divide 7 divided by 2, that gives me a decimal because it doesn't go in evenly. 2 goes into 7 3 times. 7 minus 6 is 1. We'll have a remainder, so I put a decimal and add a 0. 2 goes into 10 5 times. So negative 7 divided by 2 is 3.5. And in order for me to determine if it's positive or negative, I use that triangle. We'll have a negative divided by a positive, so I know my answer should be negative. So negative 3.5 plus 3 is equal to negative 0.5. Well, if you notice, I have a negative here and then I have a positive here. Because I have different signs, I actually have to subtract them. So I do 3.5 minus 3. Remember to line up your decimals. And I'm left over with 5 point, and then 3 minus 3 is just 0. So I'm left over with 0.5, and then I bring down the rest of my equation. What I have to determine is it should be positive or negative 0.5. Well, again, so after I subtracted, then I go back and I keep the sign of the bigger number. Well, my bigger number was 3.5, and it was negative. So I have negative 0.5 is equal to 0.5, and that checks out. So this is a true statement. But I have to do the same thing for all the other ones. So I have letter B. Letter B says negative 11 plus 2x is equal to 25. So I want to do the same thing. I want to plug in that negative 7 into my x. So I have negative 11 plus 2 times negative 7 is equal to 25. Remember that I always want to multiply first. If I use my order of operations, I know that multiplication comes before addition, so I want to multiply this first. 2 times negative 7 gives me negative 14, and then I bring down everything else. Negative 11 plus negative 14, I just have to add those up, and that gives me 5 and 2, so this is negative 25 is equal to 25. Well, negative 25 is not equal to a positive 25, so my answer for the second one is false. But I have to do the same thing for the other ones. So I have letter C. Letter C says 0 is equal to 2 over 7 times x plus 2. So what I have to do is plug in that negative 7 again into my x. So I have 0 is equal to 2/7 times negative 7. Remember, I can change this to a fraction by putting that over 1. And then I add 2. So in order for me to do this, what I have to do is multiply my fractions. So I have 0 is equal to, well, I just multiply my fractions straight across. So I know that 2 times negative 7 is just negative 14. And I know that 7 times that 1 is going to be 7. And then I add 2, because I just bring everything else down. So now I have 0 is equal to, well, negative 14 over 7. I know that fractions mean division, so I divide 14 divided by 7, and that gives me 2. And again, I can use that triangle to determine if it should be positive or negative. We'll have a negative divided by a positive, so my answer is negative. So negative 2 plus 2. So again, like I was saying earlier, anytime that you have different signs, so this one is a negative and this one is a positive, so anytime I have different signs, then I actually subtract them. So 2 minus 2 is 0, so 0 is equal to 0, and that checks out. So I know that C is true. Then I have the last one that we have to do, and so I have letter D. Letter D says 29 is equal to 15 minus 2x. So I'm still going to plug in that negative 7 into my x. So I have 29 is equal to 15 minus 2 times negative 7. So I bring everything else down, and I keep in mind that I want to multiply first. So I have negative 2 times negative 7, which gives me a positive 14. So now all I have to do is do the right side of that equation, and I know that 15 plus 14, let's see what that is. 5 plus 4 is 9, and 1 plus 1 is 2, so I get 29 here. And then I bring everything else down. So I bring the left side of my equation down. Well, 29 is equal to 29, so that checks out. So now I have to go back up so that I can mark true on that last one. Alright, so make sure that you have gotten all of that work down, as well as your true, false, true, true statements. So go ahead and glue these notes into your notebook on page 79, and then I want you to get started on your practice problems. And if you have any questions, then raise your hand, but please refer back to your notes before you ask me a question.